Afternoon. I don't know what's worse, an 8 a.m. slot or right after lunch, but I think 8 a.m. might actually be better than this one. Welcome. Glad you're here. My name is Sarah Nelson. I'm from Central Rivers AEA and also on the iTech board, and this is my partner in crime.
Hello, I'm Cari, Teske, the tech consultant who's just figuring out her microphone now as we're starting. I also work at Central Rivers with Sarah, not only my tech integrationist, but I also work as a role as a teacher librarian for the agency.
All right, so here's the gig, and I know some of you will probably swear at me in your heads, but can you please move or resituate so you're near people that you can collaborate with? I'll give you about 10 seconds. Sit near somebody, make a friend.
No, you're
Some of you are already like, I'm out.
I'm Jane. Lunch coma will not happen today.
Okay, moment of truth. How many of you feel like this right now? Any of you feeling like this? Or how about this? I must not have any new teachers in the room. Or this. So we get it. PD, not always that fun. Quick scan of the room. When Cari and I were planning, we were trying to gauge, like, okay, who's going to actually attend this session about differentiating PD? And we had a guess. So I want to see if we're thinking on the right page here. How many of you do facilitate PD for your building or districts? Okay. Are you coaches? Anybody an instructional coach? Okay. Perfect. Are you specific to tech instructional coach? I'm seeing both. Okay. Are some of you teachers and you're in a leadership role, maybe not instructional coach, but you do lead? Okay, perfect. And that's exactly how we geared this session to, okay, if people came to us and they're like, okay, how do we differentiate with adult learners? Because a lot of people that moved into these instructional coaching roles, you're used to working with little people, either elementary people or high school or middle school, but you're not used to working with adults. And I gotta tell you, not that different. The things we do for kids for good pedagogy, we need to be remembering to do for adults. And a lot of times when I'm in districts and I get to experience PD, it's like all the pedagogy we use with kids just like goes out the window, and all of a sudden we go back to this direct instruction, sage on the stage thing. And it's like, no, come on, you do this stuff with kids. You have to do it with adults.
Well, I hate to say it, but I thought you were going to say it's not that easy.
It's not that easy? Oh, well, that could be true.
To be honest, that's very good. But Sarah's right. When you think about, when we talk about instruction and purposeful, meaningful work with our teachers, so often we turn back to traditional means, whereas we're asking teachers to be in a non-traditional format themselves.
And a quick story about that, this was just a couple weeks ago. Again, we said we're at the AEA, and I had a colleague of mine who's a special ed consultant. She came to me and she said, can I meet with you? And I'm like, sure. And I'm thinking she wants to consult on something tech related because I'm like a tech consultant. And she goes, I actually want you to give me feedback on my presentation. And she described a scenario for me. She said, I have to present, I'm the team lead for my special ed group. She's early childhood. And she said, I have to present. And let me tell you how this goes. I present and I'm looking at my colleagues. These are adults. She said, they roll their eyes at me. She's like, they're completely off task. And she's like, I know you won't believe it. They actually sit in the back and like talk when I'm presenting. And these are people like peers. And she's just like, I don't know what to do. She's like, help me. I said, okay, let me see your presentation. So she pulls up her presentation and it's very direct instruction. She's got slide after slide where she's talking, and she's talking, and she's talking. And so I called timeout and I'm like, how do you like to receive PD? And she's like, oh. So we started talking about that, about how she likes to receive it. And she's like, I hadn't thought about that maybe my colleagues are rolling their eyes because they know something too, and maybe I'm not the expert. So we talked about the role of facilitator versus expert. So keep that stored in mind, and we'll try and give you some tips. That's our goal, to give you some tips so when you go back to your districts, you have some little tricks that you can throw into your next PD. All right, we know we have different types of learners in the room. How many of you, and this is totally me, I'm collaborative. Anybody else collaborative, like you like to talk through things sometimes? Okay. Anybody not like that? Like if you have to engage with another person during PD, right away you're just like, I'm out. Anybody? Okay, I saw a couple hands and they were very like timid hands. Okay, how many of you take a little bit longer to process? So when somebody asks the room a question, you're not the first one with your hand up. Totally me. Like I might have a good answer, but it's going to take me a little bit longer to get there. So I actually prefer having time to think. And I know we're all different. So we have two options for you. Option one, for our people that like to share, but maybe you like to do it more in an online format and take your time, go ahead and go to our Padlet. Here's the URL at the top. That'll let you have a voice in the room, but you don't necessarily have to speak up. Those of you who are like, okay, I came to the session and when she made me move to sit by people to talk to, my anxiety went up, and I really just want to sit here and take notes. If that's you, go ahead and go to this link. I've got a graphic organizer that if you learn better this way and you want to opt out, you can opt out and just take notes. Is it not giving you permission? Thanks, Cari. You're the best. I hope I gave Cari permission. You know what? I bet I didn't, Cari. It should, is it a link that says make a copy? Okay, let me show you a little trick. Here's what it looks like. Because I don't want you all taking notes on the same handout, I want to give you each your own copy. Everybody know this trick? Tell it. You know it. You got it.
You replace share with edit, or edit with copy.
Yep, you got it. So up in the URL, I just deleted the word edit and I'm going to put the word copy in. And now this link I'm going to give you the shortened URL to. So that other one, ignore. And I have a URL shortener, just an extension. So give me 1 second. Thought I planned ahead, but I didn't do a very good job. There's your new link. And it'll force you to make a copy when you click on it. Can you refresh your page? Does it make a copy now?
I think it's just that you kind of sense
Okay, give me 1 second. Let's try this again. Can view, but I also want you to have a copy of it. And I'm going to give them a little link. Is it working now? Oh, good. It did. Perfect. Okay, so note takers, there you go. That doesn't mean you can't opt in at any time if you want to join the conversation. We'd love to have you. I'll leave this screen up for another second here. Those of you that are new, anybody new to Padlet? Okay, perfect. The only caveat I'm going to ask, when you post to Padlet, I have 10 different tasks. You'll see it when you get there. For the specific task, post your response under the column. It'll make sense when you get there. And then if you want to, you can name it task 1. Okay, stop me now or I'm going to move along. All right, let's do this. Here's your first question. What's PD like in your building? And I have 2 options. I like to give adults options so you can decide how you want to respond. Option 1, post your response to Padlet. Use the task 1 column. Option 2, for my people that are more visual, find a meme or create a meme like I had a couple at the beginning. Here's how I made my memes. But tell us what PD looks like in your building. I'm watching a Padlet. I've got AIW format, excellent. Building wide, specific with engagement. PLC, very collaborative, excellent. Sit and get, it's changing to be more differentiated, but we still have a ways to go. Okay, anybody that prefers to talk and share your answer, want to chime in on this one? Individualized with PLC groupings by interest.
You might need to refresh the Padlet if you want to see what other people are posting too.
Master teacher and coaches created specific grades. Excellent. Keep chiming in if you have some more to add. Here's your second question. Again, if you learn better by talking, I did put the option in, turn to your neighbor. You don't have to type, but you sure can. 3 tips for delivering awful PD. What would that look like? Or option 2, describe a time you experienced or personally led awful PD. So either turn to a neighbor or add this one to Padlet.
Yeah, because a lot of times, well, I mean, just like whatever we rolled out, there isn't choice there, but it has to have a baseline. But after the baseline, then it's like, I wonder how I do quizzes, I wonder how I do that, or a follow-up on the plan, if it's a actual meet, can't say whatever. It's the baseline trainings, but you still have to go old school and say, because everybody's got the you have option, but it's like, everybody has, you know what I mean? I guess
And we'll
it's all
talk about
based
some
on.
options even for that.
That's
Okay, about 10 more seconds if you're talking to a neighbor.
Consensus.
All right, those of you who don't mind sharing in a group, what do you think? What's awful PD? Sit and get. There's an expert on the stage and you're sitting there taking it.
We talked about the beginning of the year, when you go through policies and procedures, that back to school time, that was one of ours that we don't like the handbook for teachers.
No pictures. We need graphics, don't we? Okay. For our visual learners, some people need the visual. Okay. What else? Going back to the Padlet here, district mandated. Presenter has no passion or interest in the topic. Oh, I hate that. Full text, text upon text upon text. Actually, somebody gave me this tip once for a presentation, for like a presentation tool like this, and they said whatever the average age of the room, the people in the room, that's the point size you should use, the font point size. So I don't know how many I see where the font is way too small for the room. So consider that as you're doing PD. What's your font size?
They want takeaways.
Takeaways.
They still want things to print in paper. I know. Mind-boggling, but some people do.
And here's a question I'll ask the room. Is it okay to have some handouts on hand for people that prefer that? Sure. Sure. I will typically offer digital and also have a few like, hey, anybody that wants, because we do have some people, even sometimes I like to write notes. Anybody else in here, like you just, sometimes you do. So it's okay to have both. Anything else on this one? All right, here's the deal. Cari and I do not know everything on this topic. But we had a hunch when we were planning that you all are pretty darn smart because you've all sat in rooms where you took PD, you've all led PD, you have experience with this topic. So we're not going to really tell you how to do this, but what we are going to do is we're going to show you some examples and let you critique what PD might or could look like. So we'll give you examples and we'll ask for your expertise on this. One thing to keep in mind, this is kind of small, so if you did grab the handout, the graphic organizer, or the presentation, you'll be able to zoom a little bit better. But I do have a question for you. Of these 7 learning styles, which one best describes you? Go ahead and either turn to a neighbor and talk through it. It could be a few of them. Or if you're more on your own, go to the Padlet if you want to do that. This is task 3.
Okay, nope, you're good. What do you think?
Are you? You like to I'm very
Yeah.
I'm terrible when it comes
Yeah.
to home remodeling and decorating. I can't put colors out because I can't see what they look like. So so that Menards tool where you like go through.
And I'm going to roll this into another question. Here's my next question. Which learning styles do you use with kids or with staff if you're somebody leading staff? So keep on discussing.
I try to use a lot of visual with my students. I work with pre-service teachers, so. Different types of different kinesthetic plays bigger role than other times. So teaching plot classes and one-plot classes, kinesthetic is more important.
Okay, we'll bring it back in about 10 seconds.
I think you got to incorporate others, but I think incorporate more visual.
All right, I'm going to bring our conversation full group. Anybody who doesn't mind speaking in front of a group want to share out?
I said I was really visual, and so it's easy for me to tell kids to read something, but my son is super auditory, and I didn't realize till he went to college how he said any professor that spoke anything, he learned everything in their class, and he had to read it, and a lot more difficult. So I try to talk about everything that we're learning at the same time that we may be reading it. And then we both agreed we're tech coaches, and I'm sure all you guys did this, but we don't touch the other person's computer ever. Like, we tell them what they need to do, and they work through it hands-on themselves.
And I'm glad you said that. In case you couldn't hear in the back, she said she doesn't actually touch someone else's device as a tech coach, but she said that last part again.
I make them go through it on their own, and I talk them through it, and then I always make them do it like 3 times, just so it starts to stick in their head what they need to do.
And I'm going to even take that a little further and say, when I'm working with an adult one-on-one, I will often say, how do you want to learn this? Do you want me to do it and you watch? Do you want to do it and me talk through it? Or do you want me to give you a few minutes to see if you can figure it out on your own? So I'll specifically ask that question, and they get to choose. Because some people are like, no, you just do it. I want to watch you one time, then I'll try it. But giving them that choice.
On the topic, like for me, when I get adults sometimes with technology, they're not as easy to coerce into trying something themselves. They just want me to show it to them. And so sometimes it's about resources. So you need to teach them like how to fish, basically like, so how do you find this stuff? Because I can Google stuff just as well as you can Google stuff. So let's talk about how we gather resources and trying to teach them to be independent. Because there is some apprehension sometimes around new devices, new tools, new things, and being a risk taker.
What else on this one?
I think it also kind of depends on time of day,
Okay.
what I choose. So like at 1 o'clock, more kinesthetic, and at 8 o'clock, that
Yeah.
makes a difference. Rather than, because even if I'm going to do social or visual, it's still harder at those points of the day.
You got it.
And I would add on to that, what grade band you were giving PD to.
Yes. What grade band?
What you're going to do to high school teachers, you're not going to do with elementary teachers.
Yes. If I flip the lights right now, I was like, okay, when the lights go dark, you would probably all want to kill me. especially my high school teachers, because that's not how we do it in high school. Elementary, you'd probably be like, oh yeah, she's flipping the lights, that's what I do with my kids. Yep, I'm glad you said that. What else? All right, let's keep rolling. Okay, so I'm going to show you some examples of some different agendas, and I'll talk you through kind of the scenario of how they were set up. And I want you to be thinking about two things. One, I want you to pick out the teacher moves, or the facilitator moves. So what's that facilitator doing to differentiate? And then also, what could they be doing that they're not yet doing? Okay, so kind of keep those in mind, and I'll talk you through the first one. Okay, this first one is one agenda in a series of about 7 that I did with one district. And what we did, I always had me and then 2 tech coaches on hand. So I did have access to 3 facilitators, which was wonderful. And Cari, a lot of times I'll call her and say, hey, can you come help? Because I found that the choice is huge. So what we'll do, this happened to be around assessing learning. That was the goal. We wanted teachers to know what was available to assess student learning. So we had 3 options. We had a learner A, that would be for people that like direct instruction. So that might look like me seeing up here going, click here, click here, click here. And I would take them through each thing step by step. Option B, give me the basics and be on hand. That would be like, okay, hey, I pulled these resources for you. Here I have a video, it's 3 minutes long. Here I have a tutorial, it's a written tutorial. Here I have the Quizlet Help Center, and I've got 11 ways Quizlet can supercharge your teaching, which is a blog. And I said, hey, if you want to come to this session, I'll be there, I'll be on hand. Here are some resources to get you started, or go seek out your own, but the goal is assessing student learning. Then I gave the option 3, which is give people throw them a bone basically, and let them explore and figure it on their own with colleagues and myself in the room to help. So go ahead and think about, analyze this type of a setup. Again, if you learn by talking to a neighbor, go for it. If you just want to post on Padlet, go for that. This is Padlet number 5.
Even though there's 3 different learning types, why the content changes. So like,
Google Forms is the middle.
right, so like what if learner A likes direct instruction, but they want to do Quizlet?
Right.
Or, you know,
Well, it wasn't a Quizlet on that skill set. I don't think it was about Quizlet. I think it was a Quizlet on that skill set at the top. So they're using, because what?
Yeah, because I was thinking that.
you were thinking what I was thinking.
Oh, this interview from last
Because
period.
I thought this one was like Google Forms. Where that's
You're
like-
right. No, I think you are.
So,
That would be something that would be like, ask more information, because there was obviously an intent,
okay.
but it could be that, yeah, what if you wanted to do Quizlet, but you don't have direct
But I'm
instruction?
learner C, right.
Yep. So that would be a question to ask.
That's short. A lot of choice like that at the same time.
We just,
Sometimes I don't even know.
10 more seconds, we'll bring it back to the group.
Through exploration. Sometimes I go to it and I get in there and I'm like, I don't know the right questions to ask to explore. And I see that that sometimes happens, but sometimes I get lost on the shuffle because of that.
All right, for those of you that like to share out loud, what do you think?
Right.
What's the learner doing, or the facilitator doing, and what could they be doing that they're not?
I guess, what I said was that learner B, there's so many options and so many pieces to go through that probably any level of comfort, I guess any style could go through that path. I guess I experienced, like, I provide a lot of tools for people, but then I have learner A's taking over all of the tools I give them and then email me and want me to like come in and show them how to do it, even though I made a tutorial video.
Yeah?
So I guess I like that that's so put together. It's like a kind of complete setup.
Good option to have the direct instruction for those that like it.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
We were talking about it and said that learner A would go insane if they were in the same room as learner A.
Oh my goodness. Yes, they'd be going insane. How many times have you tried to facilitate PD and you've got your rock star teacher that's already doing this stuff on a daily basis, having to sit through, okay, we're going to do Google Forms today, and they're like, shoot me now.
But
Yes.
That's where if you only have one of you in a district, you take your rock star teachers and have them
You got it.
one of them.
Yep. And I'm going to even give another idea for the Rockstar teachers. I've had student tech team kids or Rockstar students. I would usually myself, as the facilitator, do the direct instruction, but then for my learn through exploration, I might put a student in one of those two.
Sarah, can you explain the difference of topics in your 3 things? Because
Yes.
is that good? Is it not good? What's the, like, I need the bigger picture with this.
Okay. What can
That
I
was our
open it to the
discussion.
group first? What do you think about the topic choices? If the PD goal is utilizing technology to assess learning and provide feedback to students, that's my goal. What do you think about these different tools?
And our question related more around what if you're a Quizlet person that wants to learn more about it, but you don't want to get the instruction 1, 2, 3, 4?
Okay. What do you think, group?
That was our discussion.
I think learner C is able to have that exploration time. That's kind of my thinking is that if they're in that side, Google Forms doesn't, then the facilitator's role is to say, okay, well, which one do you want to look into
Yeah.
further?
Yeah, they don't have to stick, I'm with you. You don't have to stick with just the resources I put in your column. Here I have a resource on Quizlet, or go to the internet and I'm going to give you some tips, and I will give you some tips on how to pull good resources, by the way, that's coming. But yeah, I'm with you.
Well, your tools are growing based on complexity.
Talk to me about that a little bit more.
I mean, Quizlet and Kahoot is obviously easier than Google Form add-ons if you're a novice, because they're just the way that, I mean, there's not as much customization, I guess you would do maybe than with Google Forms and Google Form add-ons, maybe a little more analytical.
And I'm glad you picked up on that. One thing I didn't say, but you might have noticed, like I said, this was a series of different workshops we did with this particular staff. The first time we met, we did Quizlet and Kahoot, and we kept that all throughout. Why do you think we made that decision? We always had a band that was a review band.
Because there's a lot of people need to do things over and over and over. That's just,
Yeah.
And some
You know.
people aren't, you can tell it to them once, they like it, they think it's cool, then they don't have time
Mm-hmm.
to experience it, so then you need to come back to it.
and you're chunking their learning. They might just say, okay, I can handle this one thing. I'm going to
Give
try
me
it, then
one
I'm ready for
thing.
another.
Don't give me 10 things. Give me one thing and let me go really deep. But when you're always changing it on them, then those people, well, what happens to you? What happens in your brain when something gets changed on you week after week? Done. A little overwhelming for some people. Okay. What else do you notice?
In my last session, I don't know which one it was, you can't be good at it all, so what are you going to be good at? And a lot of us are Google schools, so then we really do need to focus on those Google things. So that's going to be learner A, is what is that one Google tool that you can use? And then how can you expand it? There's other cool things out there, but let's start with the Google first and then go to others.
Can I share another example?
Please do.
Similar to this that we've done. We've done surveys where we surveyed, this is basically formed around the Google Suite apps. And so we've surveyed our staff and had them evaluate or self-evaluate their skill set, bring it in for a score, and kind of get a feel of the group, and then do 3 different learning paces. So we created a spreadsheet and we have the beginning skills of Google, what we think are beginning skills, and then kind of the intermediate, and then the ones that are over the top that, you know, you have your teachers that are really the go-getters that would really like to go to those levels. You divided them up into 3 instructors, and then we all started at the basics, but that third group, the advanced group, just worked faster. So we wanted to make sure everybody talked about all the basic stuff real quick, and then we're going to get into these, and then we're going to go here, and we're going to dig deep. And then our beginners, who were kind of like, well, how do I even find my Google Drive? Well, then we initially took time to walk through those first column of skill sets and that's the one I should have probably brought or added. I didn't think about it until now, but then we did just pacing different. The content's the same in a sense, but you pace it, and then at any given time, those people could move. So if this was moving too slow for you, move to the next group, because they all knew ahead of time, we're covering the same content, the pace is just gonna be different.
Good one, thank you. I'm going to show you how I curate resources, and I'll show you with one condition. You have to teach somebody else how to do this. Can you all agree? You'll show somebody else if I show you my super secret trick? Whew, I don't know if I've shown you my trick, Cari.
I work for hours.
Okay, let's say you've been asked to do PD, and here's the other thing, I want to make sure you get this message. It's not about the tool. That's why I'm okay pitching 4 or 5 different options, because I'm not promoting a tool, I'm promoting what you do with the tool. Okay, so keep that in mind. Because I had people say to me, well, shouldn't all of our teachers be using the same tool? I don't know. I don't know the kids in your class. I don't know their needs. I don't know what you're trying to do. So making sure you're not making it about a specific tool, because I tell you what, tech is changing way too fast to hang your hat on a tool. Okay, so here's my trick. Let's say I want to teach a group about the new Google form quizzes that came out a little while ago. I'll go to Google and I'll do a search for Google. Well, actually my keyword I like to use is the word tutorial. Tutorial, Google Forms quiz. Okay, but I don't stop there. The next move I make is I actually go to that click where it says tools, right here. And instead of something that's posted anytime, why do you think I would, tell your neighbor or post a Padlet if you'd like, why would I pick something that was made in the past year? Tell somebody, or the past month. Tell somebody next to you. All right, what do you got for me? Why would I pick something in the past month or the past year?
I wouldn't go to the past year, Google, change where the stuff's at next week or next month.
I've had it change in a day. Like
Oh, yeah.
presenting, and all of a sudden, like, that's new.
Here's a little tip for you on how Google searches work. You probably all know this. You know that anything that's paid or sponsored goes to the top, right? Somebody has paid for their thing to go to the top. Does it mean it's the best? No. The second thing that brings something to the top is how many hits it has. So let's think about this. Tell a neighbor, with something with more hits, is it going to be new or old? Okay? It's going to be new or old. Whisper to me the answer. It's going to be old, right? Something that's been around 6 years is going to have more hits on it than something that's current. Technology is changing so fast. So if I did Google Forms and I didn't specify when it was posted, I'm going to get completely outdated stuff, and I'll be giving teachers a tutorial that may or may not look like what their screen looks like now. Okay? So make sure you know to use month or year. I usually start with year, unless I know specifically a tool has had a change. Then I'll pick month or week. Okay, so past year. So now I've filtered it past year, but I don't stop there. The next thing I do is I count for learner differences, and I say some people, like me, I like videos because I can rewatch them and I can pause them. So then I'll filter for a video. Okay, so I'll click video. Across the top here, I just click video. The next thing I'll do, actually this, tell your neighbor, should I pick a short, medium, or long video for people to watch? Tell your neighbor. Okay, a moment of truth. How many of you said long, the longer the better, because it must be more detailed and more thorough? Why did you not say long?
Teachers don't have time.
Who has time to watch a 20-minute tutorial?
Well, we object to that in the back because
Okay.
we gave an example, like, this is my example, but we also said could involve tech. If you know you want to dig deep into something, like your washer broke and you know you can fix that darn thing, so you want a video, you don't want a minute video on how to fix your washer, you want that 20-minute you have to watch. So we said if it was something really important that you really need to precisely dig into, so
Yeah.
maybe some of the add-ons that are a more higher level Flubaroo, maybe you want to do all the features in it, you might invest your time in that. But
And can I plus one your comment?
yes.
Yes, plus you might consider finding videos that chunk the information.
Right, a series. Or
See, I read your
something.
mind.
Yes, you did. So we weren't saying that that was the right answer, but we know that it depends on the purpose.
Yep.
So, but usually quick and easy and figure it out is good.
My mental note is 5 minutes or less. And if you notice, one thing I've started doing for my people, my staff, I will tell them how long the video is. And sometimes I might even put, okay, this one's 3 minutes 42, maybe I do have a longer one that's 10 minutes, but then I'm gonna put a short video and a long video and put the time. So that they can decide, do I have time for a 10-minute video or not?
And you can link to like a specific place in the video too, if it's like half of it is not relevant, but the rest of it is really great, you can say.
Yeah.
You have to start right.
Yep,
Or create a playlist
Yeah.
of videos, just link it to the playlist. And choose the one they want.
any other tips somebody else is using on this part of it that I didn't think about saying? Okay, you promised you'd teach somebody else that trick. Okay, let's go ahead and analyze. Oh, what else could I be doing in this one? Someone give me feedback. What could I add to make it even more enhanced, more differentiated? Pictures?
Some exemplars of things that are done.
Love it. So maybe even a link down here, it says example of Quizlet in the 2nd grade classroom. Okay, love it. What else? Okay, so more of these types of things, more like here's the pedagogy side, why should I even be using this? Yep,
Some guiding questions, if I'm learning through exploration, sometimes I don't even know the guiding questions to search for, so adding some of those might help people be able
Love it.
to launch.
yes.
In your middle one, is this answering video and the tutorial or tutorial, are they over the same kind of content?
Yes.
Maybe just say that, like, one or the other, or maybe your
Okay.
staff knows that you provided
No.
formats, but
No. Why do you think I do a video and written, both? Some people. How many of you prefer watching a video? I've got about 5 of you. How many prefer you want it written? You want step by step? Okay.
I thought I preferred video until you started talking about it, and then I realized that whenever I'm looking how to do something, I always want to find text because I can like scroll past anything that seems irrelevant.
Ooh.
And I just like, I'm like, okay, I don't care about all of this, like, I don't care how you use it, whatever, just tell me how to do it. And it's harder to do that through a video.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. And those of you that are teacher for students as well as adults, let me give you a little tip. I never, and I'm serious, I never do direct instruction over a tool with kids anymore, ever. What I do instead is, let's say we just studied this unit and I want the kids to make some kind of multimedia display. Number one, it's not about the tool. Number two, my kids know to bring their earbuds with them to class every day. So then I might say to class, okay class, hey, we're gonna make a multimedia presentation over, someone shout out a content area. Nutrients, okay? And I might say, okay, what tools could we use? Like I'm seriously asking, what tools could we use? A Prezi, what else? Slides. Powtoons, ooh, that's a good one. What else? Simple slideshow. So I might take a couple of those and actually pull a resource for the kids or adults and say, okay, here's a quality tutorial on Powtoons. I already did the research. I showed you my trick for how to find it. I'll link it and I'll say you can either do Powtoons, which is a tool that I really like, or any of the other ones you heard. Hey, is anybody in here, does anybody else know how to do a slideshow, a Google Slides? Anybody? Like seriously, do you know how to do it? And I'd have my kids raise their hand and I'd say, if you need help, There you go. Go to one of them, or go to Google, and I would teach my kids how to search for quality information on Google. I don't spend any class time doing direct instruction over how to use a tool with adults or kids.
I want to add to this piece here that's not seen is how do you assess that, Sarah? Can you tell, like, how did you know the work was done, and tell a little bit about what your after this day, what happened the next day? Because accountability is important, because when you're working independently, you have to give professionalism to your teachers, but you also want to trust them to make good choices.
That's a great question. So I told you when I started, this was a series of like 7 of these with the district, and we actually picked the topic based on their Clarity data. Just so you know, this was an area of need. Teachers just were not assessing using technology. So when we started this, we told the teachers on May 5th, when you come into PD, you each have 3 minutes, and you are going to showcase something you've implemented with kids. You're going to show us what you did, and you're going to tell us how it went. And if it was a complete failure, so be it. You tell us it was a failure, and you tell us what you do differently. So they all had a date in mind. They knew they had to try something with kids and have feedback ready to go for their colleagues on that day. And each person for 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, stood up in front of their colleagues and said, here's what I did. It worked, didn't work, and here's what I do differently. I'm glad you brought that up.
Thank you.
Okay, let's keep rolling for the sake of time. And I'm going to fly through some of these, so just if you have something in the Padlet, add it, or if you want to bring it to the group, do it. This is one I did with adults that was around kind of a more gamified approach. This was right when Google Classroom came out, and we knew we weren't going to pay for Canvas anymore. We were going to push teachers toward Classroom because it was free, and we just knew that push had to happen. We put all the teachers in teams of about 4 kids, or 4 adults with 1 tech team kid per teacher group. So every group of 4 had a kid, okay? And we said, okay, we're all going to play a game. We have 30 minutes. The mission for your game, should you choose to accept it, is to create a Google Classroom for one of your classes you teach. And here you get 30,000 points, because it's gamification, you gotta deal with lots of points, right? 30,000 points just for playing, and for each of you in the group, so if there are 4 people, you each have to do it, else you don't get your points, accountability. And then here are a bunch of different bonus points. And what we did for the bonus points, if we really wanted to get teachers to do it, what do you think we did in terms of points? Can anybody guess or predict, or higher points? So if we're like, we really want teachers to do this, like this 5,000 point one, create an assignment, give each student a copy. We thought that was really important, so we made it more points. Turn to your neighbor. What do you think about this structure for PD?
I'm looking at all go along, but then you kind of what's the reward?
The team with the most points got a prize.
Yeah. You know, buy it. I know you're saying that. Yeah, exactly. And I think,
Okay, about 10 more seconds. Okay, anything whole group on this structure? What's that? Any feedback on the structure of that one? Gamify it in terms of what? Like
if you don't do gamification.
I've got a couple more structures that you might like better than. This structure, I don't get credit for, this was from Grantwood ADA, and actually they're revamping it. But this was more of a structure where teachers opted into the content that was most important to them, and they earned badges. So this was all on their own, where they had their modules. I think they used Canvas for this. They went into their module, and it was some on your own learning. This one is one Cari and I recently did for a district where we had them be the students in Google Classroom. And because we don't like to make it about a tool specifically, we actually made this about how to collaborate online, but we wanted them to experience what it's like to be a student using Google Classroom.
And wasn't that goal set by the staff because they looked at data that said they were not having their students write online, and they talked about writing as a goal, so it made sense to incorporate online writing. So that's kind of what the avenue of focus was, and so every time when I went there to work with their staff, Sarah always reminded them, this is the focus.
This is what collaborating online looks like.
Yeah, we're trying to increase our opportunity for kids to work and collaborate online.
And I'm glad Cari keeps bringing up data because before I did this gig, I worked for Waverly Shell Rock as their tech integrationist for 4 years. And I always tell this story that my first year there, I did what I call cherry picking. And I would come back from my tech and I'd be like, oh my goodness, you have to see this cool tool. And I would then like hold a lunch and learn, a tech tip before school. I do all these structures, like you guys see this tool. And then the next week I'd have another tool. And the next week I'd have another tool. And I would do this cherry picking. And it got to be the end of the school year. And it was like, where did we even move the needle? It was so here, there, everywhere that really we did not move that needle. So then the next year we dove into the Clarity data, and instead of having 10 goals, we picked one, and we moved the needle, because everything we did tied back to, for example, collaborating online. So if I'm going to teach you how to use Classroom, because it's a good tool, it's one that's working, I'm going to show you how to do it through collaborating online. So we tied everything back to writing online, collaborating online. So then, by the end of the year, we did move that needle, and it wasn't just random tools thrown at people.
Does anybody need more? I mean, how many people know what Clarity is? When we talk about Clarity, Bright Bites? Okay, if you're not familiar with it, your agency provides it. At least at Central Rivers, it's free to in our districts. They usually take it once a year. It's a survey that takes about 25 minutes for staff. About that for their kids if they choose to, and parents can take their version from home or at parent-teacher conferences. And it gives you a case score, and that case score bases the information on the classroom. So when you talk about classroom, it's integration. Access is access to devices and the internet. Skills, what skill sets your teachers and students have. And E is environment, which does policies, procedures, PD, and the belief. Do they believe technology enhances learning? So that's my spiel real quick, sorry.
No, that's
I just
perfect.
wanna
I'm glad you
make sure
said
that was
that.
clear, because that's offered to districts to use. And that's part of our role as tech integration, is to support that.
All right, here's the deal. This is kind of a selfish one. What do you think about this presentation? Number one, what did we do to try and differentiate? And number two, what could we do for next time to do a better job? What did you see? What did you notice? What teacher moves did we make? 30 seconds, talk to your neighbor. All right, for the sake of time, I gotta pull you back. What'd you notice? What did we intentionally do to differentiate?
You allowed those people that wanted to be by themselves to just be by themselves. And so
Did anybody take that option? Anybody just kind of go off and you're like, I'm good? Nobody in this room?
They wouldn't admit it.
I know. Hey, we've got introverts. Okay, what else?
Right away at the beginning, you have the option for collaborating online, and then if you weren't quite ready for that, you still can do it on the Google Docs, kind of showing them to do a digital version of the notes rather
Yep.
than.
Some people just don't like to share out in the group, especially with your peers. What else? You can replicate this stuff, so we need to make sure you're seeing it as we're doing it.
We had stuff for multiple different learning styles. Some were visual, something, you explain everything. And, multiple ways to get the information.
Okay, different modes for getting it. Did we stand up here and tell you what you needed to know? We let you explore. and talk through it. What else?
You relied on us to,
Examples. Some people need examples, don't they? Somebody else was talking to.
you relied on us to give personal insight.
Yeah. I think one thing I've learned working with adults, if you try and come across as the expert, like you know it all, you are going to turn so many people off because number one, nobody knows it all. And I think you really have to tap the room because when you're working with adults, you've got so many different experiences. And if you can just realize you're the facilitator, not the expert, it changes how you organize PD.
I think going off what Kristen said back there, that you're not the expert, sometimes when you are a full-time type of nutritionist, they don't see you as that being that teaching role, so sometimes what you give them is really what they need, but they want to hear it from an actual teacher.
Yep. Oh, you can do it. You're the tech person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I try to sabotage my own presentation sometimes and not have tech work, even though I might know exactly what's
Right.
in 1 second. Fix whatever's not going to work, but just
Talk
to
your
show
way
them
through
that,
it.
you know,
Model.
yeah, all heck's breaking loose, and
I like
you know,
that.
how do you not?
That's why our music wasn't working right away when we got in here. That was on purpose. Oh yeah, people with the link. That was totally a total on purpose.
You gotta pay attention to the presentation. That helps them see how you're processing troubleshooting.
Yeah, yeah.
And I tried your best. Here.
All right, with that said, hey, thanks so much. We love doing PD and we love to help and we love that you gave us so much feedback so we can be better. So thank you.
And Jessica, wherever you are, I just saw it come across my watch. She tweeted something. I will send that to you. So she happened to tweet at me. So I was like, oh.
She twittered at you?
She tweeted me. She tweeted at me.
And don't forget your
Just
nuts
like
case
that.
today.
Yeah.
I so wanted to share that with the people today. Thank you for letting me say that to you.
Thank you.